he can't even reach the pedal, but he's down there just like hammering. Do that. What do I have to do to get to that? And I think of other goals that come with that.
School's not your thing. Don't think it's the end of the world. There's other stuff that you can do.
I was a 2.5 GPA student in high school. I'm a 4.0 GPA student in my MBA program. I'm making a point that anybody can do it.
This is Connor Drella. Connor owns an R8 V10 2012. He is a project manager who manages over 100 employees day by day. But as a father and being a premier member of Dream Cars for Kids, Connor dedicates most of his time to giving back to the community. But enough of us telling you about him. Let's have him tell you his story himself and dive into his supercar mindset.
Yeah, so my primary job is I'm a project manager for an electrical contractor here in Orlando. Started out as an electrician, never went to college, finished the military when I was in my 20s. Started a new career straight from the beginning, from scratch, and then ended up going and getting my master electrician license, which is something that nobody does after they top out from the school. And the moment I did that for myself is really when like doors started to open, and getting into project management is.
So when you were out in the military, did you do anything electrical? Was that part of your job?
No. So when I was in the Navy, I joined when I was 19. Didn't really know what I wanted to do with my life. Didn't want to go to college because I didn't want to study anymore. Joined, ended up figuring out that you have to study, and the military pushes you to be more than who you are, and to constantly do more for yourself. You always have mentors that are pushing you to be better.
Now, how were you in high school?
I was okay. I could have done better. I was always the type of person that just did the bare minimum. I had a 2.5 GPA, got by, but it was because of effort more than it was anything else. So I was a really social person in high school and had a lot of friends, but really just did the bare minimum to get by.
I think that's how I was too. I tell people all the time that I didn't know I had ADD until like way after college. I mainly just passed. I just made sure that I passed high school, get enough to get to college, and then barely passed college. And then, once you're out in the real world, that's where, your personality and your networking really brings out opportunities. Were you already married?
Yeah, so I was like newly married. So everything was new to us. We just bought a house. We could barely afford the mortgage. I wasn't making that great of money. Luckily, it was before the housing boom.
Now, how supportive was your wife, or how important was it to be on the same page?
So my wife was incredibly supportive because during my entire upbringing, I had a child. So I've got a 3-year-old. She was pregnant through some of that. So, she really had to understand that I'm not going to be home all the time, because you do have to make a sacrifice if you want to get to that level sometimes. And so, although I really enjoy working, I also enjoy my family, and there has to be a fine line of coming home to your family, but your family also has to understand the sacrifices you got to make to get to where you're trying to go.
They always talk about sacrifices, but they don't really say what their sacrifices are. But what it comes down to is time. Right? Time with your loved ones, and just you're actually sleep. You don't sleep because you got all these things going on in your mind, and that keeps you up. And basically, those are the sacrifices that we tell people you have to suck it up for a couple of years. It's going to take a couple of years. It's not overnight, or not even a year. So sometimes you got to put into work, the effort. But if you have a supportive, spouse, and they believe in you, it just makes the whole process easier.
Absolutely.
So, one of the main thing about Supercar mindset is we're trying to get people to change their mindset on living paycheck to paycheck, and start like coming up with goals and a plan to get out of debt. So how did you do that?
So my life really changed, and this is going to take a dark twist, but one of my best friends that I grew up with, he was so busy all the time, and he would never say no to an opportunity. And he ended up passing away, and he got killed on his motorcycle. And when he passed away, I wanted to bring a piece of him to me and never forget him. And so I took on the trade of just almost never saying no. And that led to me learning to have mentors, and mentors taught me to set goals. And then when I started setting goals, it was like the momentum to get me to where I am today. And once you start reaching those goals, you just continuously set more, always stay busy, never be complacent.
Yep.
And it changed my life completely.
Yeah. Were the goals like money driven or skill wise?
I believe money's a byproduct of who you are. If you invest in yourself, the money's going to come.
Exactly.
Don't focus on money. Focus on how can I be better? How can I develop more skills? How can I be more valuable to somebody else? If you want to work for somebody, and if you want to work for yourself and be your own boss, how can you be smarter and how can you make better decisions? Because business is all decision making, and one wrong decision could ruin you. I'm 30 years old.
That's still young.
Yeah, I have a lot of goals that are still in front of me.
Yep.
One of which was to get my MBA, and I've got a list of goals. They never, when I cross one off, I add to the list. But one of my goals last year that I had set was to go get an MBA, and I had heard that you can go and pursue an MBA without actually having an undergrad.
Yeah.
And so, long story short, because I wrote that goal down and made it real, I had met somebody at a college here in Orlando, and I said, it's one of my goals to get my MBA. And she said, well, go apply. Yeah. I was like, well, I don't want to waste any time. She pushed me. She said, apply. Yeah. And now I'm in an MBA program in one of the number one schools in Florida to do an MBA, and it wouldn't have happened if I didn't have it as a goal. Yeah. So.
No, I feel like, even no matter how successful you are, you always have to have goals. If it's not like, if you don't have a list of goals, then every day is just like clockwork. You just go and it's unproductive actually, because you have no aim, you have no nothing. It's just like you're just dealing with the day.
One of my ways of looking at goals is I create those really high-hanging fruit goals that don't seem like they're obtainable instantly, and they're not going to be. One of my goals is to be a Fortune 500 CEO or C-suite executive, and that's not going to happen today. But what I do is I set these really high-reaching goals, and then I start to branch out. Like, okay, if I want to do that, what do I have to do to get to that? And I think of other goals that come with that. And then next thing you know, you have this tree of milestones that's right in front of you from this major goal. And you almost manifest those goals to actually happen because you're thinking about them.
Exactly.
Actively.
So what made you get an R8? Like, out of all the cars?
Okay. So when I moved to Orlando, I went to a program called Leadership Orlando, and class 105. And basically what it is it's a bunch of people like you and I that are leaders in the community, and it teaches us about all sorts of different things happening in Orlando, and it's a monthly thing. It's a 9-month program. You meet once a month, spend the entire day with these people, and go to different areas, and they're all highly successful. I'm not at their level yet. Vice presidents, presidents, CEOs. The first meeting we had, we were sitting at a table, and they said, hey, everybody needs to find something in common that you have, and then present it to the rest of the class. Then everybody I was sitting at was like, oh, I'm on a board. Are you on a board? Everybody was on a nonprofit board. And so I was like, okay, this is something that everybody's doing. I need to figure out why, and I need to figure out how. And so they gave me advice, and they said, if you're going to get involved with a nonprofit, make sure it's something that you love. Don't just do something to get your experience, because you're not going to be attached to it. And so it took me a while to see, like, what was I really passionate about? Because I love to work and I love my family. I mean, that's really, really it. And so I really started thinking about it. And one of my goals is to have a Huracan. I want a Lamborghini Huracan, and now that's turning into I want an Aventador. But anyways, so I was thinking, okay, I really want a Huracan. What else do I love? I love my daughter. Kids, cars. Let's figure out what's there. And so turns out there's a really big nonprofit in Orlando called Dream Cars for Kids. And so made a couple of contacts, reached out to the founder, Ankush, and John Springer, the two founders of the organization, and said, hey, look, I've got a business background. I really love these cars. Like, it would be awesome if I could be around you guys and help you grow your organization the best I can. I'll volunteer my time, pro bono, don't care. I just want to be here and do this. Almost instantly, I'm in the car community. I get my company to sponsor them. I'm driving a Tesla, and I'm like, I gotta figure something out. I can't go to a supercar event with a Tesla Model 3. Nothing wrong with that, by the way. But I wanted something like they had, and so Just got to know the guys, got to know some tricks, and started listing my Tesla on Turo over the weekends.
Yep.
And it was booked almost every weekend to where it was almost annoying that I didn't have my car. And I said, okay, I feel ready to buy a car. Found a Porsche 911 and said, okay, I'm going to get this Porsche. I'm going to list the Tesla on Turo full time, see what happens.
Yep.
Did that. The car's been booked ever since. I've only seen it twice since I listed it almost 8 months ago.
Yep.
Stays booked, pays for itself and some, helps pay the cost of the Porsche now.
Yeah.
And then eventually, you know, the Porsche wasn't even enough for me. So through little tips and tricks and like understanding the market of supercars and understanding that they retain their value really well, I was able to get into an R8. It's a V10 R8 2012. To me, it's an entry-level supercar.
Yeah.
But still, it's like the coolest thing I've ever had, honestly.
Exactly.
So Dream Cars for Kids, we basically we're a network of volunteers that all own supercars. And it started with a child making a wish. Is a dying wish that they could see a consig, honestly. Yeah. And there was two in America. One of them was in Orlando. The other one was in California. And the child was in Memphis, Tennessee. And so the manufacturer reached out to our founder and said, hey, you're the closest to this child. They want to see this car. Mm-hmm. Can you get it to them? And so he was able to turn that around in 2 days.
Oh, man. Got
the car to the child, just made their day.
Yep.
Made their day completely. And so that's where the organization was founded. Is let's make wishes for children that are clinically ill.
Yep.
And now it's turned into like such a big support group of supercar owners that donate money to go on rallies. We fill our trunks full of toys and we'll rally to a children's hospital and donate, you know, hundreds of toys. And then the money that's raised to do the rally goes straight to the children's hospital. Yeah, so there's another organization I'm working on right now. Say who they are, but they're basically another Make-A-Wish Foundation type of business, nonprofit. And what they do is they ship kids in from all over the world. They house them. They give them this magical experience. They take them into the parks in Orlando. But it's really unique because they do Christmas every evening. They have ice cream available all the time. It's just like really for the kids.
It makes you happy.
Yeah.
You know, I was telling my wife the other day, I went to Target and when I came out, this whole family was just surrounding the Lamborghini, and the father was holding his kid over the engine, and they're like, Dad, look at that. It's so cool. And then when I came out, the mom was like, is this your car? I was like, yeah. I was like, do you want to hear it? You want, you know, she's like, oh my God, they would love it. And they're like little kids. And I got in, I turned on the engine, and then the father's like, can he take a peek inside? I was like, he can sit down, you know? And he's like, are you serious? Like, what are the chances we ever sit in a Lamborghini?
Yeah. So the other weekend, there was some kids that had an iPad out and they were filming my car. I was in it. They wanted me to rev it.
Yeah.
And so I opened the door. I was like, you rev it, bro. Like, he can't even reach the pedal, but he's down there just like hammering on it.
That's awesome.
That's fun. You know, you know, that's a experience that you literally just made that's going to last their entire life.
Yeah.
That memory is going to last an entire lifetime. Same thing. So I've got a super bike too. I don't know.
Oh, no, I didn't know that.
So I've got an Aprilia RS V4. It's about 217 horsepower.
Wow.
But I do the same thing with kids. When they see the bikes, they get excited. I tell them, come over, grab the throttle and just rev away and have fun. And it's a fun experience.
In your early 30s right now, right?
I just turned 30, yeah.
That's amazing.
No, I turned 31 in next week. You're
losing track of time already. Yeah. So where were you 5 years ago from now?
So let's see, 5 years ago from now, I was probably...
Financially, were you like struggling or?
Oh yeah, I mean, I want to say it's 2024, so about 2020, 2019 is where I was topping out on my electrical license.
Yeah.
And I was making $17 an hour 5 years ago.
Holy cow.
Yeah. Every year, somehow, some way, I managed to figure out how to double my income.
Yep.
So it's honestly, it's just setting those goals, making things happen, looking for opportunities, and then taking advantage of those opportunities instead of just sitting around and letting them pass in front of me.
Yeah. And I feel like once you're that, it's a snowball effect. Like that money just keeps coming and coming. Like the more you stay focused on something, it just keeps coming.
You get that base of what you need to survive. And then can you get reckless with money? The more you make it, absolutely. You can make $1 million a year and spend $999,000 in bills a year. And you may have all these great things, but you have really nothing to show for at the end. No freedom, really. Or you can make $1 million a year, live comfortably off of $200,000 and invest everything else to continue to flip it.
We talked about the previous 5 years. What's next for the next 5 years? Like, where do you see yourself in the next 5?
So with my MBA, you know, I'll be finishing next year. And like I said, I was a 2.5 GPA student in high school. I'm a 4.0 GPA student in my MBA program. So
that's crazy.
That's a status thing for me. It's like I'm making a point that anybody can do it. So, you know, there's the CEO or the president of Disney went to my school and went through the same program I went through. The CEO of Publix went through my school in the same program. So I see myself in a C-suite position in the next, I would say the next 3 to 5 years, somewhere in that range. I see myself in a director position in the next 1 to 2 years. As long as I continue to see growth, I'm happy. Ultimate goal is definitely to be that Fortune 500 C-suite executive.
The industry that you're in is continuing. There's a need. There's a demand for it. So it's not like, you know, everyone's going to shut off the electricity and you're not going to be in need anymore. There's constructions everywhere, especially in Florida. You know, condos are going up and there's so much construction going on. So your job security is there.
It's a saturated market. It's important to know what the economy is doing. Just like in any business, honestly, you need to see trends and you need to see where the economy is going. Construction can tighten up really fast, you know. Housing market tanks, then construction is right there behind it. So important to follow your market, but it's a thriving industry. There's a lot to learn in it. On the electrical side, it's electrical. There's a lot to know there, but it also intertwines with business. It's another thing a lot of people really don't think about is you can be really great at one skill. If you don't know anything about business, you're not going to be able to make it on your own.
You're not going to be able to grow. Right. And that's where I think a lot of people are happy with where they are. Like, I see so many like handymans or someone who's really good in what they're doing, but they just can't. The mindset is not a business. They're not a business. They don't have that business inside of them, like, you know, or the motivation to go out and start their own business. So, and
some that do, I see it in electrical a lot. A lot of guys will go out and gals will go out and do their own thing, and they'll do really great. Sometimes they don't want to charge. They're scared to charge or overcharge and perceive that they're too expensive. When really you need to charge more money than it costs you to be in business and survive. But they get to that point where they aren't business savvy and they don't know how to grow and they can't expand. And so they get stuck in that until they're wore out and then they go right back to working for somebody. So it's important to have a plan of what you want to do and how you want to expand.
That was a good conversation, Connor. Thanks for being here. And I think we're going to go outside and take a look at his car. I mean, the muffler sounds awesome.
All right, man. We'll let you crawl under there here in a few.
Cool. Thank you.
All right, cool.